10 years, and he is back with his second solo project. So let's dive into this second solo project from Rikard Sjo blom.
And if I can't handle me, then how can I ever break free?
The Unbendable Sleep by Rikard Sjo blom, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of his name, so I'm just going to refer to him as Rikard from this point on. So the main project that Rikard is famous for is Beardfish. He's kind of that lead creative force of the band. I mean, last year they put out my favorite album from that year, and a lot of their albums of the past I have just grown to love. So when I found out very recently that he had put out a solo project, I immediately jumped onto that and I had to dive in, and I was not disappointed. That same energy and that same creative narrative from Beardfish is found on this solo project of The Unbending Sleep. It definitely has the same things that I love about Beardfish, such as the weird and zany aspect towards the noises, and just having that really creative approach to music. And I love his vocals on this. This is something that we don't really get to see a lot of. Almost like yelling scream, but never really being brutal. It's very similar to those kind of belting out screams that we had from, say, Led Zeppelin or The Who, where it wasn't necessarily an aggressive yell, but it was definitely that passionate yell. And of course, I love how this album opens up and closes with the similar tracks of Love and War Part 1 and Part 2. Musically, the sound is astonishing on this album, and I love pretty much every single track on this. There's really no low point on this. As I said, the album opens up with Love and War Part 1, and this tune is a great opening track that bleeds straight into the second song of The Realm of You and Me. This is kind of a concept that will be presented again and again on the album of, who am I and who are you, in the confines of almost being like a dream aspect. And the melodies that are presented on the song, especially of Realm of You and Me, are just fantastic. I love how the guitars are really blending well together with one another. It's providing a very great pot of music going through. I love how in the background and everything, it's all in a major chord, and yet at one point the lead guitar shifts into a minor tone, and that provides a really interesting dance within the music, and one that I really enjoy. This album has two songs that are pushing beyond the 10-minute mark, with Rhyme and Reason and the ending song. But within Rhyme and Reason, I love just where this song goes, because it's all over the place in a very good way. It's almost like you're taking a journey through the woods, and these are just the different areas that you're discovering. So in that respects, a song being all over the place in this kind of connotation is a very positive thing. I love how it goes almost from like a very boppy and very fun aspect to shifting very quickly into almost a very dark and very atmospheric soundscape. And so balancing all of these is a very tricky thing to do, but it was accomplished very well within this song. Even though a lot of this song is very light and very bubbly, I like just how brutal it gets near the kind of just after the midsection, even with the lyrics of, we gotta try harder at just doing something positive here. So, it's almost like that raging against the dying of the light in that kind of respect, but it's never really to the point where it's ever brutal, but the way that it's being presented is very, it's very heavy. And I love the fact that it's kind of followed up with Will We Cry. This song is a much more acoustic approach, it's much more mellow. It's a very good counter because it's a very short song at being just over 4 minutes long, so it kind of provides us with that breath of fresh air. So in terms of structure, the album is structured very well in that, we've had a little bit of the heavy hitting, now we're just kind of, laying low for a little bit, and it actually ushers us into my favorite song on this album, Under the Northern Sky. What I love about this, and not surprising if you know me, is just that end of this song. Most of the song is kind of a build-up towards this ending. We were presented with the theme of the song near the beginning, so that when it's revised in the end, we're familiar with it, but it's all those arpeggios that are going on in your head. And so whenever I'm presented with that, of course I'm going to melt. And this, again, is followed up very, very well with Building a Tent for Aster. And I love just how fun this song is. This is definitely kind of like, if you're playing a video game like Final Fantasy or Zelda or any kind of RPG like that, and you find yourself in a fun merchant kind of a town, I almost picture this being the background music. if we're talking about playfulness and fun, Anna Lee is a great track, and that is kind of a love song to this very strange woman that this guy can't really understand why he's attracted to her. Presenting this in that he's seeing what he believes is like this perfect person, and he's trying to pick flaws out of this to kind of humanize her, even though he's putting traits of like a witch or an alien or all these different things on her to kind of justify his feelings towards her. I don't know, I felt like that was a really interesting dynamic within that song, and the music itself is actually pretty fun. It almost reminds me of, Beardfish's last album, so very great track. And finally, bringing this whole thing together with Love and War Part 2, Lucky Star. This song definitely encapsulates what I love about Rikard and his ability to play. It covers so much ground in, relatively short period of time. It does a lot of what those big epic movements of the prog has been trying to do, but in almost half the time at 11 minutes. That play out of this song is a particular treat of mine. Even though I feel like it's a little bit short and a little bit, cut off at the end, I feel like if they had really played it out within that last movement, they could have made something really special. But I'm not complaining with what I've got in my hands. So overall, this album is a definite must for you. I had a great time, and I've been listening to it quite often. I keep coming back to it, and every time I come back to it and every time I revisit it, I'm enjoying it more and more. I'm finding out more things. I'm kind of seeing different things that are hidden within the landscape, and I love an album that does this. Each new revisit is a new experience. So really, I have to say, you've got to download this and just listen to it all the time. I am having a ball with this, and I highly recommend it. And so that's about it. What did you guys think of The Unbending Sleep by Rikard Sjo blom? Let me know by commenting below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Either way, I still highly recommend this. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.